Everyone, welcome back. Day 17 for our hybrid test automation framework. So we went through a lot so far, and primarily let's kind of summarize what we learned on different types of frameworks. Though I must have not presented it to you as a definition, now the concepts will get clear for us. Very importantly, team, we need to look at what is an automation framework. And how do we use that in a regular world? This is very specifically to do with our QA automation process. With that in mind, how do we define an automation framework team? Any framework will basically have a structure to it, a kind of commonality on how things are done. Now, for example, we can look at a few. The other thing is it has to make human life easier. At the end of it, we are making any kind of an automation to make our human life easier. Whatever we're doing manually, can we do it using a tool much more faster? And then I have the thumb rules for automation. That it should be efficient, it must be reusable, and it must be accurate. Now, to understand this concepts team, let's focus on, before we arrive at what different types of frameworks are. These basically become types of frameworks for us. And hybrid test automation framework, that is what we are doing today. So that let's capture this. Then we'll also do POM, PF, and third part, test automation tools. What do they do that is not already scripted and so on? All right. Examples. Now let's forget QA for a while. Let us look at any kind of an example. Let's say I'm talking about buildings. Okay. So when you look at a building, the basic structure is usually the same. And what changes are the interiors, or where, how the size of rooms are, etc. But how we build using steel beams or cement or bricks, all of this is already formulas created. So we don't have to keep on reinventing the wheel. We know that I can use it as is to begin with. Let's see. Okay. Now, for example, if you look at cars, when we look at a manufacturing plant for automobiles, you will see that there are robots which repeat the same process. Again, they use the same chassis, and they use tires that are already proven, and so on. So there's no new reinvention of wheel each time, not trying to reinvent the wheel each time. So we have set some standards to it and say that this is what we will follow. Now let's talk about, and anything if you take team kind of will fall into these categories. In today's world, we use knowingly, unknowingly patterns or structures or standards, and those become frameworks. In fact, so is your Java JUnit. Is nothing but a Java unit testing framework. Developers had a little bit of challenge in unit testing, So they said I wanted something to do at before and at after each test. And they came up with this framework and said, let's implement it, so on. So that's what we will also come to explore more here in POM-PF when we do test-ng and POM.xml. Test-ng Maven. Now, so you understood the basic concept, team. And now when I say efficient, what do I mean? Keep this in mind. Efficient means, let me write it down. So it's, and team, the reason I write this is when if I just show a PowerPoint, I don't know if you'll register. So let this sink in, you take notes as well. It is faster, not only to edit, it's also to create, edit, run, uses fewer resources, be it human or devices and so on. Reusable, maintenance is easy, and repeat with few changes whatever we do. So these become the thumb rules, team. Now you'll be able to relate and put them into what we accurate. Has to be trustworthy. I need to have that confidence level on the tool that it will do. So why would you live in a building which is 100 floors and but you're not too confident on how that was built? It's something you wouldn't rely, right? So that must be their team. So when we talk about frameworks, especially automation, they have to be repeating. They have to be repeating. So we want to make sure that this is set correctly. Now, what is a linear framework? Let's get this clarity very easily. So the last few weeks, we've been going through a lot of things, team. I think we started with linear here. So linear framework is nothing but a simple thing that I have a functional scenario and I want to run that scenario. So I launch my browser, I have a set of rules, I want to do something on the application and finish. For each such functionality, I will have one scenario. So automate scenario by scenario. When I say scenario, team, these are user stories or test cases, etc. Now, what is functional decomposition? In functional decomposition, what we basically said, I think before we went into DDF2, that the same thing we can do. Let's see, driver 3. Where did I start using functions, team? I see functions here. Not yet here. Driver 9, I know it's there. Maybe. There you go. We did it here. So now see, we had a little different need in this one. Now, if you leave the portion where we are reading and writing from the Excel sheet, what we are trying to do is I have certain scenario, one or more scenarios that I may require to use it often. So there are reusable or rather repeating functional test blocks. So, and you will have to retest them during regression runs. So it helps to basically parameterize. One is you have put everything, your code gets better organized. You'll start to see things more like English. So that's a little bit BDD and ATDD, a little bit, not too much. and you have reusable functions that can be parameterized. So you can each time ask it to do certain different things. But in the end, the concept is going to be that you're able to repeat. Linear framework, take one scenario and keep on running. Functional decomposition, I'll break my entire test case into certain things. Example, user login could be one. And in this, I'll say username, comma, user password are my inputs. And maybe another one could be send money. And this could be a very large one where it's say from, to, when, how much, etc. So based on the application, all depends on the application list. We create these reusable functions. So that's doing certain functionality of the application. That's functional decomposition. Now, what is data-driven framework trying to do? It is basically taking one or few test cases, scenarios, same thing team, I'm using the same words repeatedly, run against different sets of data and verify for expected. Now, this is very strongly used for organizations or apps that use loads of data. What are those? Financial, healthcare users data to a large extent, social media, immense one, aeronautical, research, so on team. So there's a lot of data that goes in. So what are we trying to say? Example, my car runs now at 75 miles per hour, comma, giving, let us say, 25 gallons per liter. Okay. Now, this is one scenario. Now, I'm saying the same car, if I'm running at 55 miles per hour, must give me 45 miles per gallon. So see, what is changing is not the functionality of the output, but my inputs and what I'm expecting as an output. So that is important. How does your application behave when the test data changes? So a lot of emphasis goes into your test data. Now we're not so worried about your test cases. Then comes keyword driven framework. Can I take a pause and check, are you all with me so far? And you know, when we talk about tools like third-party tools, HP, QTP, UFT, now Micro Focus, or Selenium, or any of these tools are third-party. They're basically going to use the same framework concepts. So when I say data-driven, it means the same across the industry. When I say POM, it should mean the same across the industry. And that's what we are trying to achieve as well. Okay, where are we? We are in the keyword-driven framework now. Now, what is a keyword-driven framework? How is this different from data-driven? Here, my total focus changes onto the application and the test. So I think it's good time for me to draw. Give me 1 second, everyone. Sorry. Okay. Yes. See, end of the day, what is the most important thing when we're doing anything? It's an application under test. That's the primary thing. And of course, our whole objective is to make sure there are no defects or bugs. Okay? That's our criteria. Now, when you look at an application, you basically break it down into functionalities. Let us say you take an application like WhatsApp. Okay, WhatsApp version 1, few years back. All it had was chat, correct? Then came 1.5, let us say. Then they added group chat. Then came 2.1. I'm just randomly saying him. It's just very random statements. There's no credit to it. It's just how applications have flown. Then they said, okay, let's add audio calling and then video calling. So the past 5-6 years, I don't know how long, they've been adding features. Okay. Now, what is regression testing? When only this feature was there, they only had to test this. When they added group chat also, they tested group chat, they tested chat, and they tested these two together if they're also working fine overall. So they had to retest the whole thing. Now, after 5-6 years, don't you think when new features come, they still have to test and see that the regular chat feature is working? That is very important. What's the point if we have group video calls, this, that, but the regular chat feature breaks down? So is the other functionality. So that severity is very important. So what are we saying? Features of the AUT, rather focus changes onto the AUT. AUT goes through a life cycle of changes or feature updates. QA must retest the whole AUT and not just the recent changes. That's our regression testing. Okay. So for each release, we must hence be able to easily, or rather efficiently, reusability and accurately do or perform a regression testing. So now look at it this way. Back to this image. Now it is easy to say, okay, chat took 5 hours, let's say 500 person hours to test the feature. Okay, each of them took 500. So the 10 of the features, that becomes 5,000 hours to test. So quick question, team. Next release, manually, if we're doing this process, will we have to redo that 5,000 hours? Yes or no? Manually, do we need to repeat the entire effort for each release before we decide on a go, no go? Team, tell me please. Obviously, yes. Unless an automation process can help. And that is where KDF comes and says, let us make it easier to a write regression tests. How are we able to achieve it? We are able to do it using simple Excel files like this. I'm saying, what is my test case? What is the name of it? Do I want to execute or not? For each test case, what are the detailed steps? Like I'll write like a manual user, manual tester, that this is how I'll do. The only thing is I've given specific keywords and I gave identifiers in my test data. And we are getting to fix that. Now, let me look at this. So we finished that and saying write regression tests easier in an Excel, harder in Java. So either I have to have this data here in an Excel sheet, or I have to go and put it into .java class like a linear framework. So that's where keyword-driven frameworks tries to make it easier to write regression tests. Next, run tests. When we run tests also, to select which and so on. That feature, we already have the execute flag. So that's good. That's what we're trying to do. Then we have to look at results of tests. What are the results? What ran? What passed? I want to take a look at pass, fail. And if it fails, screenshots, maybe log or send an email at that time. That should also be something that I would like to add to that. This is what will build a keyword-driven framework. Now, write regression tests, run tests, results of tests, then maintain future tests. We'll add new tests to Excel, edit also in Excel. So it's almost getting towards zero code framework. Why? Because we have a smart driver script that does this. That's the ability of keyword-driven framework. So I want to take the entire, see, look at this concept. Everyone, keep your ears with me on this. We wrote a simple scenario earlier, like this driver 3, where it goes to an application, opens something, clicks something, gets title, prints it. Don't you think this is a test? Is it not an automation test? Of course it is, but it's a linear framework. There's nothing more. Anytime you want to make a change, you come here and make a change to it. That is your challenge. In this case, what we're saying is each of these, we're not going to write it as Java. We're going to write it in Excel. We're going to run it as to what to run, what not to run, also in that Excel. I have my selection choice here. So I can say no, yes, no, that's my choice. I might have hundreds of test cases. I would like to choose. These are very subtle features, Tim, that will build it eventually. Then post run, I want to see results of tests. I also want to see time taken for each test case. These are the features that we would love to add to it more and more. And maintain future tests. So if I have new test cases to add, I'll simply come here and I want to say, okay, I'll say 06 login menu. So I basically know what I want to do. Most of the keywords might be here. So I can start thinking about the test case and start writing it here. Once all the information is intact, I can test it. If it's good, release it. That yes, this is done. Got it, everyone? So linear, just taking one scenario after another scenario after another scenario, like Selenium ID and running. Functional decomposition, almost the same, but some functionalities we are creating reusable functions, like user login or send money or log out or whatever, you know. Data-driven framework, repeat a scenario for different sets of data. Keyword-driven framework, take one set of data but have multiple scenarios. I want to keep running. Now, what is a hybrid test automation framework? Voice is really dry after speaking on this for a while. Hybrid is mixing best of two worlds together. It's like a hybrid car scheme. What is a hybrid car, anyone? It runs on fuel or battery. It's not all electric car. It is hybrid. So you can put petrol in it, or you could also have a battery that is getting charged through a charger, right? That's a hybrid because it is taking advantages from both, two or more frameworks. So that is what our hybrid test automation framework is. So what I'm saying here, we are going to combine DDF plus KDF plus a concept called page factory to a certain extent, or page object model also, as we can say, into one. I'm going to show you this version, and then we'll also look at the other version. So any questions on this? Now I'm going to go to HF1 and we're going to continue. We created 2 sheets yesterday, so we have to work on these now. Yesterday's lecture is in there. Aarti, can you put it in the chat group, please? Team, during the live session, let's only focus on the topic if you don't mind. It always deviates me through something else. Any questions, team? Just hold on. I'll just pause it for a minute. All right, let's continue. So what was our idea, team? So far in the code, what we've done, test cases we're reading fine, test steps we're reading and executing fine. We're also able to capture the basic result. Now, the only change that we did so far is I said, let us parameterize the test data. So here, if you notice, I put a hash in front of the test data. Just as the internal representation and the standard saying that, oh, you know what, when I see a hash, maybe it is a test data. So what should my script do at that time? Whenever it sees a test data, let us say hash browser, it must immediately go to the sheet, go through each row with column 0 and return column 1. If none of it is there, then it can return nothing. That is what it should do. And then similarly, we'll create something for element IDs. Let's first finish test data part. Okay, everyone? Where are we? KDF, Hybrid framework, I'll keep it in the same project team. I don't think we should create another one right now. Close all. Okay, save. I don't know what I need. Changes HF1 I need. I also need kw.java, where our keywords are, and excel.java. These are in usage, so I'm just not that I'm changing. Let's save as HF2. Do you all practice the way I do, team? When I say not literally that way, but almost speaking out loud and so on. It is in mind. Okay. Let me see. Because it just excites your team. There'll be a new energy that comes to you when you try and talk and write the code. And it's nice. You won't feel bored ever when you program. So now see, what am I trying to do? It is so obvious. I'm trying to add another test data, two-dimensional array of type string. See, I'm saying it. Sometimes when we don't say it, we don't even know it's correct or not. Maybe I'll also need the test data underscore rows. So I'll put that. Path will be common. Yes, I will need to read Excel PD equals read Excel as path test data. Let me make sure the sheet name is correct. Yeah, test space data. So always give extra caution to upper lower case. Is Java case sensitive or not? Okay. Yes. So, but team, you have to be more case sensitive. Okay. Like Java does not accept if you write something which is upper lower case. Same should be you. And then it does not matter if a programming language is case sensitive or not. All right. So give lot of emphasis to your naming convention. See, in this code, each code you go to every batch of mine, you'll see there's a difference because it's just flow of thought, the way we're thinking, and what we're putting. So till now, I just read the test data. So simple. Since it was well organized, it was easy for me to do it that way. Done in at before. Why is there still a red mark on hf2.java? Let's see after we save. Okay, nothing anymore there. ADF logic will remain the same. All I said is before we execute that keyword, where is it? Where are we executing? Here. There. Before we execute that keyword, let us get the test data. That's the first thing. Then we'll get the element ID. So follow me, team. I'm going to comment this for now. If it is okay, I'm not interested in the browser execution. I may just want to see the print statements and see everything is coming correct or not. Then we will do. Why did I do this already? Let's not jump into the EID yet. I was trying to do it in a hurry yesterday. I kind of summarized it and then let's do it. So this was original. This was also original. Now we're saying we'll come up with these two, which is new. This is corresponding step. So for now, we're not doing this. I'm only going to work on get TD. So look at this concept, team, once again. Don't ever get confused. Go back to your basic whenever there's a confusion. I come to test steps during execution. I get a keyword. I get a username. I get a test data. You email. I take that value, go to this sheet and see, is this you email? No. Go to the next one. You email? Yes. Then return this value. If it reaches the end and there's nothing, then return what we got. That is the logic. So get PD will take this value as input, whatever we gave here, and should return the actual value because end of it I'll need the actual value. All we have done is parameterizing them. Did I use too much English, team? Let me write that and we'll see. What am I saying? It will return string, okay? For in, I can put another I here. I don't need the first row, so I'll start with one. I is less than TD underscore R. Is that correct? What is the variable here? TD underscore R. That's right. So I've got the rows there and I plus plus. This has got nothing to do with the other i's there. Now, what am I saying? Go through each and say if ft dot equals excel td row I column 0. So I matched it. Then it will return the next column. That is, this is column 0. So don't get confused here, please. Just columns. Which column? Where? So I match it here. You email. Then I want the next column. This is column 0, column 1. So I'll return column 1 if it is matched. If it is not matched all the way, then I'll return whatever I got as is without any change. That's it. I think it is done. I don't think there's any other change to it. Again, team, I'm programming it along with you, so I'm making that assumption as well. For int I, go through each row. If I match matching test data name, which is in column 0, return column 1. Yes. Once that is returned here, I'll take that value. So this is commented now. We haven't come to this yet. Now, when I run it, my test data should actually have the values and not hash. Let me run it without it. This is the change. This is without the change. This is original code. Only thing I did is execute keyword. See this one that I commented. Let's make sure HF1 test cases. Yes, 3. I'm not executing the test case. That's all. Ting, 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 ting. Okay. This is all the same code. We don't have to change much in that. As simple as it can be. We have a write Excel also. I don't want to write any Excels right now. It's okay. Let's write it. hf2.java. It should be very quick, team. Reason being, there's no browser opening or closing. Let's see what's the issue here. Null pointer, read Excel. Okay. Test data is not there in HF1. This part, let's make sure, team. HF1. Yes. There is test data here. Why did it say? Didn't I save it? Oh, write Excel sheets and read as well. Write Excel sheets, I can understand. Let's comment right for now. Once it runs, then we can. Let's see. Let me evaluate this, team. Give me a second. Java 18 test data. If you notice something, let me know. hf1.xls in this folder, there is test cases. Why is it failing here to read the test data? Let me reopen that file. What is wrong with it for test data? I don't see anything wrong. Is it a cell format? What I'll do quickly, paste it here, paste it here. create it again, team. Not sure what went wrong there. Test data. And this is the raw data. Save and execute. See, that's why I commented everything. So debugging is easy. It'll run faster. It'll tell me what it's doing or not. I was not sure what the issue was, team. I thought maybe formatting. It could be that the sheet was not correct, so I redid it. Now you see, I'm getting navigate to URL, hash URL. How does it know what is the value in hash URL? We want to avoid that. Now, to avoid that, what we're going to do then is enable this rather than this. And say get the test data. Now let's rerun and see. And it should give us the actual values anyway. No more hash sign. It is our representation of hash. So that's done for getting the test data. Now, similarly, I can have element IDs created, team. What do I mean by element ID? I can say here, see, I'm using certain way to recognize these, right? Type text, and so on. It doesn't have to be constant here. I could parameterize it. So I could say element name. You could also add a page. And you can say using by what method and then say value to it. Okay. And here, let's use maybe at the rate for these, you name. Okay. Won't take at the rate as is unless I put a single quote in front of it. So single quote at the rate user password. So at least these two fields we know if we are using team. I think ID. Just steps. Is this correct? Username and password. Username is UN here. So this I'll say is add uname, same value goes here. Only one I use team. This is the forgot password. The value will be UN. That's all we saw, right? I don't think I'm running test case 2. That's why. Test case 2, is it ready? Yeah, it is ready. So you can run test case 2 also. See, that is why I like to have a page here. Page. And then, so I'll say this is login page. Okay. And on login page, there are a few things. At username, lot of documentation. See, team, it's not just coding, it's the way we organize everything. Button, I'll say user sign in. And then you forgot password. I don't need to use you for everything. Even this sign in. Okay. I'm not gonna. I don't think I'll have enough time to parameterize all of this thing. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Let me write that function very similar to this. It's gonna go exactly the same. Excel EID underscore R. Will read from EID, put it into Excel EID. done. This is going to be EID underscore R, Excel EID, and same here. And this is FEID. So everything else is correct. Only thing is column numbers. So where are we matching it with? I'm looking at column 1 and I'll return column 3. So I'm looking at column 1 and return column 3. This, once the values are there. And return FEID. There we go. I think code level we are set. Now cannot run because we didn't finish all of this. Once we finish this, tomorrow team, I think will be done with it. Actually, I'm very close to it. Any questions while I try and finish this? What is the first page name? If you name it, you password. So these are the values. These are the parameter names for me. Now this is only the home page. Now here is the forgot password page. And at username underscore forgot, I'll say. So that was UN. So we get that value. So this is UN. I don't know what this is yet. It's the link actually. This because I changed that name in the two different pages. So all I'm doing here right now is printing to see if it's working. If it's printing fine, then even execution should be fine. So I'm just saying this is get EID. So then maybe I can comment this and see everything is working fine here. Then we can see EID. Everything is correct. I don't know why it failed the earlier time. Okay, that's good. It ran any at the rates or it gave values team. UN came, that's good. Forgot your password came, that's good. So I think at least for some of them where we wanted it to work, it did. Now let's try and do the execution itself by uncommenting this execute keyword. If it's working, at least all we have to do is now make sure that right Excel is back. I don't think we have enabled that part of it. So right Excel can be none. Test cases, test steps. Done. Test case execution here. Let's just change. So see, I kind of reparameterized almost everything here, which is a good thing for us. Test cases, test steps, data, element ID. It's one of the simplest automation frameworks that you can see executing. So team, by now you basically got a lot of automation testing. You should have gone through all this from hands-on experience, building one after the other. Now we'll go into CI/CD. We'll explore a lot more of other things. Workbook already exists. This is the only problem, team, that we're having with there. That it is already having the workbook, but it's got the test cases at least, I guess. Is that right, Excel? Let's fix that in the next session. All right. Let's see which one got updated recently. Nothing today. Nothing today. Execution done. Workbook not updated. We'll do it tomorrow. All right, everyone. That's it from my side then. We'll see you back tomorrow. Thank you.